It is my pleasure to welcome y'all to episode one of Successful Habits. I am your moderator and co host. My name is Tyson, aka Cadillac Pack. I used to be your favorite rapper. Now I'm hoping I can be, one day be your favorite co host. I am an ex D1 scholar athlete, ex musician, current people leader, and motivational speaker. And today, I actually have the honor and the pleasure of introducing one of the most inspiring individuals I've ever known. He's also an ex D1 athlete, a youth leader, a teacher, a coach, father, brother, fiance, so much more. A true basketball junkie, a real mind of the game. Some of y'all know him as Coach West, but I know him as D West Sosa Baby. All right, so what's going on with you today, Sosa? Coach West.
Man,
I'm
not
sorry, Coach
much.
West.
Not much, man. Just day to day grind. Day to day grind.
Yep, yep, yep. Love to hear it, man. Love to hear it. Hoping you had a good day today on this start to the week.
Yeah, for sure. Sure.
Yeah, so I mean, the first thing we wanted to do is welcome everybody who's currently tuned into the episode. You know what I mean? This is something that we really we're super duper excited to give y'all as far as this podcast is concerned. Let's talk about the podcast, right? How did we get here? How did this idea come about?
I think the idea came about just, us wanting to do more, wanting to give back to the game, wanting to give back to, people around us. We was having a conversation one day and the idea kind of came about. So once the idea came about, immediately we just jumped on it. And honestly, it came on my heart out of nowhere. Like if you know me, if you knew me, then you know like I was never a people person. I was never like a big in the front the camera type of person, right? But as time went on and as you grow, as you go through things, I think that I've been put in situations where my story can help people or my knowledge can help people. Not even just for as basketball, but as far as how to navigate everyday life or how things go on throughout the day. So I decided to start a podcast and I reached out to you and you was already on board with it. So we just kind of put the two brains together and now we're here.
For sure, for sure. I think so. For me, the podcast space was something that I really fell in love with. Not necessarily making a podcast or recording a podcast, but like these days, once upon a time, it used to be me riding around listening to music all the time. But these days, I don't know if it's an age thing or what, but these days I do more riding around listening to podcasts than anything. You know what I mean? Like honestly, if I had to paint a picture of my day, it'd be wake up in the morning, I turn on the 520 boys in the morning, and I kind of put my clothes on, brush my teeth, wash my face, that kind of stuff. Get dressed and get my day started to podcast. You know what I mean? So for me, it was always something I was interested in, but honestly, it wasn't until, you started to buy your equipment that I was like, "Oh, it's for real." You know what I mean? I was talking to somebody the other day and I was telling them like, "You are one of the few people in my life that I've ever met that like when you say you're gonna do something, you're gonna do it and you're gonna do it quick. You're gonna do it now." You know what I mean? So when I saw you start to get the equipment and things like that, it was a no-brainer for me. It's time for me to lock it in. I need to hurry up and go and get it popping. You know what I mean? So that was big for me, just the fact that you really wanted to do it. And then on top of that, like, in our family group message, you know what I'm saying? You already have you around basketball all day, every day. Right. So for the people who don't know, like I said, you a coach, you a trainer, and you a teacher. You around basketball all day, every day, full time. So you see the game different than other people. So even in our family group chat, we'll have conversations about basketball related conversations, but you see the game in a big picture mentality. So not only do you understand the X's and O's, but you also understand the things that you learn being a basketball player that transitions into the real world. You know what I'm saying? That
Yeah,
transitions
for
into
sure.
life.
For
So
sure.
yeah. So I would say that's one of the things that really got me excited to get up here and pod with you. You know what I'm saying? On top of the fact that, you know what I mean, you my brother, man. You know what I'm saying? Like we like this is really like a dream come true. Easy. It's coming easy already.
For sure.
Would you say, granted, you had some thoughts and you've had some ideas about starting a podcast, but Was there any specific instance or any specific inspiration or a moment that confirmed it for you that was like, okay, yeah, this what yeah, for sure. I can get on the mic and talk about some stuff and people gonna rock with it.
Man, it's basically just, just having a conversation with people. Like, oftentimes, like even older people, they ask my opinion on things, and I'm if you don't know me, like I'm a humble dude. Like I'm not,
So
you know what I'm saying? So like it'll be older dudes that ask me my opinion on things, and like granted, like they've been in life like way longer than I have, so like when they ask my opinion on stuff, and then I give it to them, and then it's like, man, what you say is like, you wise beyond your years type of deal. And
I
then it
agree with that
started to get to the
100%.
point, it started getting to the point where, people ask my opinion, and like, man, you need to think about, talking to people, like you can really inspire people. So that's kind of what the idea kind of sparked. But like I said, like I never was a in front the camera type of deal. So I was like, I can help people as I coach, you know. But every morning, like you said, you don't listen to music. I don't listen to music either. Every morning I ride to podcasts. Wherever I'm going, I'm usually riding podcasts, and I just happen to turn on a basketball podcast. It was LeBron and Steve Nash podcast, and it
Okay.
just sparked the interest in me. Like, just hearing them talk about basketball, I'm like, man, I can do that. Cause I'm a basketball junkie. Like that's what I do. Like it don't matter what. I can be around basketball all day and go home and watch basketball.
For sure.
Like I catch myself like trying to spend time with family watching basketball.
For
And
sure.
they like, don't you give it a break? I'm like, well, this is my break. I'll be eating dinner watching it. You know what I'm
Yeah, for
saying?
sure.
Like I'm just always doing something around it. So like to hear someone else like with good basketball knowledge talk basketball, like that kind of sparked my interest. Like,
Facts. Yeah. And you know what? I think, definitely shout out to Steve Nash and LeBron. I think the Mind the Game podcast is a good example of, kind of what we modeled our conversations at, what we trying to model our conversations after, because yes, it's about basketball, but it's really deeper than that though. You
for
know what I mean?
sure.
It's about the ins and outs of not just the X's and O's, but the mindset, the mentality stuff that you got to actually
Exactly.
prepare yourself for in order to get to that point, right? But for me, one thing that really confirmed it for me that okay, we might actually know what we talking about, because these days everybody got a podcast, man. You know what I'm
Right. For
saying?
sure.
These days everybody got a podcast, and one thing that made me feel like okay, we actually can do something with this was that I want to say you had brought up a subject one time. You had did a player breakdown of Jalen Brunson, and how he
Hmm.
liked to play off of 2 feet.
Hmm.
This was just we had this conversation in our family group message, you know what I mean? Just amongst ourselves, you know what I'm saying? So we had this conversation and you kind of broke down why Jalen Brunson was able to go on the playoff run that he just went on this past year and how he's able to get those buckets that he gets being only 6'3" on a good day. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And because he's able to play off 2 feet. Anyways, fast forward not too long ago, I just seen Austin Rivers post a clip from his podcast. And it kind of blew up on social media where he's pretty much saying the exact same thing. You know what I mean? There are elite guards like Jalen Brunson, like Con Knipple, who really they really making a check off being able to do stuff like that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
But in reality, like I said, at that point it was like, okay, cool. I already felt like basketball. Like that was never a doubt in my mind. But when I heard that, it was like, okay, not only do we know ball, like these are things that people are not really talking about. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I guess that was kind of my switch, my thing that made it, it flipped the switch in my head that made me feel like, okay, yeah, this definitely confirmed it for me. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. But so, with the podcast, the name of the podcast is Successful Habits. So talk to me about the name of the podcast. How did we end up on the name Successful Habit?
The name of the podcast came about after a conversation that we were just talking about basically your habits that it takes to be successful. These specific habits, they are consistent and parallel with whatever you want to do with as far as whether you are a hooper, a football player, a regular student, someone who wants to be anything in life, these successful habits are almost identical. These habits consist of being consistent. You have to consistently do something. Like I said when we started the podcast, it doesn't matter to me whether this podcast does 100 million or it does 5 views. It's more important to me that we are building the habit of being consistent. We got up one day, we said we want to do this, and we are consistent with doing that. Whatever it does after that is just a plus, and it's a byproduct of us putting the work in, which is great. But that builds the habit of being consistent. Discipline. Whatever you want to do in life, and I honestly feel like my life was full of this. Um, you have to be disciplined. Growing up, I knew I wanted to be a Division 1 athlete. I watched you play growing up. I knew I wanted to be what you modeled. You wanted to be a Division 1 athlete. I wanted to be a Division 1 athlete. In order to sustain this goal, I had to sacrifice a lot, which is tied into discipline because I had to be disciplined enough to where I can't do what every kid is doing. Every kid is not going where I'm going. I had to be disciplined enough to the point where I went to my first party probably what freshman year. How old are you on freshman year in college? 20?
Nah, like 18, 19,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
18,
17,
19.
18, 19, something like that. Yeah.
So I went to my first party when I was 19. Like
Uh-huh.
first, like I never been to an outing outside of a family event because outings are usually Friday night, Saturday night. And I knew this was my time to get better than you because I know that's what you wanted to do. So oftentimes I had to be disciplined enough. Was it times that I wanted to go do something? Yes, of course. I was a kid. But the discipline in it, I knew I couldn't. If I wanted to be better than you, I had to work when I know you wasn't working. That comes in getting shots before practice, getting shots after practice, getting shots before school, getting shots. You know what I mean? So every time that I think you're not working, I'm gonna go do a little more. So it had to be discipline to do that. So consistency, discipline, and just perseverance.
Fact.
Like you're gonna go through stuff. You're gonna go through adversity. It's gonna be times where you don't feel like it. It's gonna be times where you feel like the work is not even paying off. So why should I do it? You
Right.
just build a habit of persevering through it all and just continue to push, continue to get over that wall, continue to push through it. And like I always say, 1% better every day. That's it. Just 1%. So just talking about those habits kind of gave you the spark because it was
Sure.
you came up with the title, so it kind of sparked your mind. Like, man, I think we should name the podcast "Successful Habits."
So originally, so for those of y'all who might be contemplating starting a podcast in the future, I'm gonna tell you now, coming up with the name probably the hardest part of the podcast. I'm telling you now, all the good names, somebody already got them, bro. All the good names, somebody already got them, right? So that's kind of how we landed on this name, right? So, we had a couple of names already lined up, already working kind of deal. But then as we started to try to plug them into these different websites, like that's taken, that's taken, that's taken, that's taken. All right. So then, we kind of landed on a very, very simplified name. The super duper simple name was Conversations with D West, which not a bad name at all, but long story short, we ended up having a conversation about it, about something totally unrelated that night. And you kind of said it more or less the exact same thing you just said right there is more or less, the reason why you wanted to start the podcast, and the reason why the podcast is going to be a good thing no matter what, whether or not we get 1 million views or 1 view out of this, is because, like you said, we're it's giving us the opportunity to practice these successful habits. Right? These successful habits that, there are some habits that if you do over and over and over repeatedly, they breed success. Right? There are certain habits that they may not necessarily equal success, but you can't be successful without these things. Right? So as we was getting into that conversation, the phrase successful habits, you said it maybe 2 or 3 times. And every time you said it, it kind of burned a little bit deeper and deeper and deeper into my mental. And so we got off the phone or whatever, finished our conversation. The next morning, that was the first thing I text you was, we need to call the podcast Successful Habits, right? Because I really think it fits the brand and the things that we're trying to do here, right? Because yes, the podcast it was started because we wanted to talk basketball and talk things deeper than basketball, but the successful habits apply to life. You know what I mean? So I think that I think that was a perfect name for the podcast, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so I think now is a good time as any to kind of segue into the official first topic of our show. So today I wanted to actually tackle a mindset shift, right? Very similar to what we're actually talking about right now. This mindset shift, if you can master this mindset shift, it can change so much about your life. It can change the way you work. It can change the way you practice. It can change the way you work out. It can change the way you train. It can even change the way that you live. And that mindset shift is being process driven and not results driven, because these days a lot a lot of people tend to get caught up chasing numbers, chasing trophies, chasing titles, whether it be like championships or just job titles in general, bigger roles. You chasing these big things, and you don't put enough thought, or you don't love the process, right? Not realizing that falling in love with the process, trusting the process, that's where the majority of your growth happens, right? So today we breaking down what that looks like in real life, how to stay motivated when you can't necessarily see the finish line, right? And why focusing on the journey can actually get you to the destination a lot quicker. All right, so let's get into it. So first things first, what does being process driven look like for you? What does it mean to you?
Being process driven means just loving the everyday grind. And it's something that you said, but I want to put you in a different perspective. You said journey leads to your destination.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm gonna give you a different perspective. What if the journey is the destination? What if you becoming who you are supposed to be every day is the destination? It is the trophy. It is the reward, right? Because I'm gonna give you a mindset. Okay, in the basketball championship, you spend, I'm just throwing out a number, 180 days preparing for a championship,
Mm-hmm.
right? The championship is only one day. After you win that championship, tomorrow your life is pretty much back to normal, right? But what you are gonna remember the most is 188 days that you put into it. That was the journey. That
That's
was
a
who
fact.
you became. You became the team that can win the championship. You became the person who can coach the championship. You
Mm-hmm.
became the athlete who can win the championship. You see what I'm saying? I'm just a firm believer in everybody's journey. And shout out Inky Johnson. This is I quote this from him. Everybody's journey is specifically designed for them.
Amen.
Right. So whatever you go through in your life is specifically designed for your next step. So I honestly think I think the process, I think the journey, I think it is the destination. Every day is not gonna look the same. Some days it's gonna be great, some days it's not. Some days you're gonna be motivated, some days you're not. But the faster you fall in love with the everyday grind of it, I think is the faster you will start to get this mindset shift. Because working out every day it's not gonna be fun. Just like okay, so we putting the players through the off season right now, and I know if they watch this video, they like, man, coach, it hurt though. Yeah, it do. But what I tell them is, you gotta just fall in love with this. The faster you fall in love with it, it won't feel like work. Right? If you wake up and do something you love every day, it doesn't feel like work. So you have to fall in love with the off season. You have to fall in love with the grind. Don't fall in love with the stuff that come with it, because if you only gonna work hard when you get those rewards, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
if if I only worked hard when I started to see success, I would hardly work,
Right.
right? Like I would hardly work because you're not gonna see the success until what, months, years,
Way
days, a
down the
while.
line. Way down
Yeah,
the line.
way down the
Exactly.
line. So just imagine if I just worked when I got the result I was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, man, you put the work in.
Imagine if the reward came first.
Imagine if the
Yeah,
reward came first. How many of us would continue to do the work?
for sure,
You know what I'm saying?
for
How
sure.
how many of us will continue to do the work? So you have to fall in love with the grind. You got to fall in love with the process. You got to love it. And I know you probably remember this, but one day I said to you, this was I was like a senior in high school. We was talking, and it was like a weekend, and it was like a break, and we was just talking. And I was like, man, like if I'm not in the gym, like I feel like sick almost. Like it's just I
Hmm.
feel like I haven't done nothing today. Like nothing is accomplished. It's because I love the process. I love the journey more than I love the stuff that I was getting. And college kind of reminded me of that. And coming up, like I love the process. I love going to the gym. Like I love going to practice. I love like the journey that
So,
I was going through.
so let me ask you this: what do you have to say to the person whose question is, "What is there to love about the journey?"
The beauty is in the journey. And I know it's harder to see it when you're going through it, but when you go through it and you reflect back on the things that happened, the things that occurred, how much you done grew since then you will understand how beautiful the journey is, right? Because I don't think a lot of people understand that. Like even once you get to a point where you feel like you reached your goal, you're gonna love the journey so much and the process of everyday grind, you're gonna continue to chase new goals, right? Because you love the process.
For sure. I think a part of the reason why the journey is so beautiful, and I'm gonna tie it into podcasting, right? I mean, obviously you do a great job of tying it into basketball, but I use a podcast as an example, right? Our podcast specifically. So with our podcast, obviously we we freshen our journey. Like our journey ain't even started yet. This episode 1. You know what I mean? All we did was film a practice episode, and now here we are filming the actual one. But the beautiful thing about our journey is that, like I said, the process in itself is the things that we're gonna acquire along the way, right? Because it's like you said earlier, we made a commitment, we made a decision, then we made a commitment to follow through with the decision. And honestly, I think, for me, the result or quote unquote the success that I'm looking for is not the numbers. The success that I want is our 1 year anniversary episode. Because that says a
Exactly.
lot. What that says to me is that for the last 365, the last 52 weeks, we recorded 2 episodes. We dropped 2 episodes for the last 52 weeks. People start new things every day, and people
Yeah.
people stop doing them the next day. You know what I'm saying? A part of the
It's easy
process
to
for
start, harder to be consistent.
part of the process, the thing to love about the process is as you going through these things and you start to learn, you start to create these successful habits, right? We bring it back to the successful habits. You start to create these successful habits, like you pick up discipline, bro. You pick up perseverance. You pick up these kind of things in the midst of the process. If everything was given to you at the snap of your fingers, you would learn nothing. You would learn nothing. You would take everything for granted, and you wouldn't be appreciative. You wouldn't have anything to teach. You don't learn nothing, so you can't teach nothing. You know what I mean? I think that's the beauty in the process is that the process is here. So another thing that I think makes it so beautiful is that I'm a firm believer that in order for you to get what you want, you have to be the person you're supposed to be there to receive it. Right. So a beautiful part of the process is you go from the person you are right now when you started, and then once you finally achieve the goals, like you said, once you achieve the championship, you know without a doubt in your mind that you have become a person who can do that. You know what I'm saying? You have become a person who can, if you just go back and repeat everything you just did, you could do it again. You know what I mean? I think that that's the most beautiful for me anyway. That's the most beautiful part of the process is all of the things that you learn. All of the because like I said, bro. Nobody's perfect. You know what I mean? We all full of holes. You know what I mean? We all got holes in the boat. The process is here to kind of fill in the holes with maybe it's not a piece of wood, but it's something different. and something that you needed. Maybe it might be a shirt that you stuff in the hole, or maybe it might be, some net that you got laying around in a boat that you just tie it real quick and stuff in the hole. But at the end of the day, it's, like I said, the beautiful part of the process is what you become after it all.
Hey, what's more important? What's more important, the reward or who you become along the way?
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one. I say it's always, for me personally, it's always who you become along the way. It's always who you become along the way. Because like I
For
said,
sure.
I'm a firm believer that you do not get what you want until you become the person that you need to be to receive it.
Yeah.
So for me, it's
I
it's
just
always gonna be, yeah.
I see a lot of athletes, and especially in this new generation, like athletes, they try to skip steps now. Like especially down south, like they try to skip steps as far as you have to do the stuff that makes you different. You have to do the stuff that separates you. You have to do the stuff that makes people think that you're different from them. You know what I mean? Like we talking about journey and rewards. A lot of athletes feel like, especially here where we are, it just feel like they just want the reward part right now. And I'm not saying it's their fault. I'm just giving a different perception, a different perspective, maybe because nobody ever told them this part of it. You know what I mean? Especially growing up, you see your peers with certain accolades. You see people from other states with accolades your age, and you're like, well, I should get that too. I'm just as good too. But you can't skip steps in your journey. Like everybody's journey will look different, right? It's some people that's good right now that they're not gonna be so good in college. They're not. It's some people that's not so good right now, and they're gonna be super good in college and go on and
Mhm.
continue to, right? You can't skip steps in your journey. The only thing you can do is get up and work every day. Like fall in love with working every day, making sure every day you're doing what it takes to get better in whatever field, whatever aspects you are in your life. You have to do what it takes to get better every single day. Whether it's learning something new. If you are an entrepreneur, learn something new every single day. You know what I mean? Perfect something. Like, and that's I feel like
So let me ask you this, what do you think, um, why do you think so many people get trapped chasing the result instead of focusing on the process itself? Why do you think people get trapped in that, and
honestly, I think social media has a part in it. I
the
think
instant gratification?
instant gratification. I think social media has a part in it because social media shows the end result. They don't show the work. Like LeBron doesn't show up on game day and expect to be LeBron. He puts the work in. You might not see it on Instagram. You might see Shay, he just won MVP. You don't see him working every day on Instagram. He might post sometimes that he does the work, but best believe he's working every single day. So if I'm another player, I'm like, oh, I can, you know what I mean? I can get this too. Like you can't skip steps in your journey. Like you have to work. You have to. There's no way around it. So I feel like social media plays a part in it. I think for the younger generation, I think just being around your peers all day, that can play a part in it. Because especially if you pretty decent or pretty good, your peers are going to tell you how good you are every day, and you should be getting this, and you should be getting that, and you should be top 50 in the state, and you should be, you know what I mean? So I think you can play both parts. I think a little social media and a little peer
I agree with that.
conversation.
I agree with that. I think, you know, I think on the deeper side of things, I think a big part of the problem is that people don't really know how to see the big picture. You know what I mean? And I think that the issue is not necessarily that they can't see a big picture. I think the issue is that the picture that they see ain't big enough.
Hmm.
And the reason why the picture that you see ain't big enough is because people don't typically think enough steps ahead. Like the more steps you can think ahead, the bigger the picture is that you can see.
Yep.
So a lot of times it's like, for example, let's say I'm trying to learn, I seen Kyrie do a nasty combo and I want to learn it. Well, the right way to learn it is not learn the combo in its entirety, and that's gonna take you forever to learn, right? The right way to learn a Kyrie Irving combo is, okay, he did a cross, tween behind the back. Well, first you perfect the cross,
Step by step. Yep.
then you perfect the tween, then you perfect the double tween, then you perfect the behind the back, then you put it all together, and now all of a sudden, with while you was trying to create this Kyrie Irving combo, now you done created a whole new something that ain't nobody ever seen before. I give a good example, like James Harden. James Harden made the step back so popular, but now just from people trying to mimic his game, the step back done turned into like now I don't know what's traveling and what's not. You know what I'm saying? Like now
Yep.
the step back done turned into something totally different, but it's because, like I said, bro, it's one step at a time. But if people can't, if people don't think, if you can't think enough steps ahead, then it's gonna be hard for you to understand how big the picture can actually be. You know
Yep.
what I mean? And I think that's a big reason why people get trapped in trying to chase results, because another thing too is in the process, if all you doing is focusing on the process, it's hard to measure the progress. You know what I'm saying? So I think that that's another thing that gets people, like, it makes it hard to focus on the process instead of the results, because it's easy for you to say, did you do a good job or a bad job based on the result? You know what I'm saying? It's hard for you to wake up every day and do the same thing over and over and over again, not knowing whether or not you're doing the right thing or the wrong thing.
Yep. And that's another reason why I think a lot of people are result driven too, because being a professional at whatever it is you do, the process is boring. Honestly, like, cause you waking up. Okay, so I'm gonna put you an example. So I train some professional athletes. So the thing about professional athletes, when you training them, they already have their game. Like, you're not adding anything to their game. You know what I
Right.
mean? You just kind of like touching it up, maybe put some tweaks here and there, focus on movements, things like that. But every day or multiple reps, they're shooting the same shot over and over and over. Like, they're shooting the same shot. The reason why they're shooting the same shot, because they're building this consistent habit, for one, and it's muscle memory, right? So to be a professional, like, the role is kind of boring. So if I was to take just a high school kid, a regular high school kid at a random school, and I was to work him out like that, he would think, man, this workout is kind of, because I'm not doing the tween
Right.
behind back, the
Right.
popular things. I'm doing the thing that, okay, we're gonna do this consistently every day this summer. So if I had a kid and he says, I want to shoot better in the game. All right, so how do we shoot better? So I take this kid and I would shoot the same shots that he shoots in the game. I would shoot them over and over and over in workouts, right? So then when he gets in the game, it's different. The result is different,
Yep.
right? If
Yep.
you if you was to take a kid who doesn't want to do that, he just focusing on, I want to be able to shoot. He's just focusing on the reward, right?
Mm-hmm.
The process of becoming a better shooter, the process is boring. It
Yep.
is.
Yep.
I'm gonna put you in the mind frame. So every day after practice, I had a routine. So I had a routine. Practice would get done, everybody would go in the back and get dressed. I would grab one teammate after practice, high school. Most times it was Lil Marcus. Shout out Lil Marcus. I would grab one teammate that wanted to shoot with me. I would say, hey, come on, let's shoot. I would shoot. One dribble pull up going left, one dribble pull up going right, from every 5 spots, right?
Mm-hmm.
Going all the way around. That's 10 mates. So
Yep.
50. I'm not counting the misses, just mates. So that's 50. Then I'm coming back around with spot up threes, right? Just catch and shoot. Then I'm coming back around off the dribble three. This is an everyday
Every day.
routine. This is every day, right? Someone who doesn't love the process, they're not gonna want to shoot this shot every day.
Mm-hmm.
They're not gonna want to shoot one dribble pull-ups every day. They're not gonna. But I was in love with the process. I was obsessed with perfecting this certain part. Like, to be successful, you got to be a little obsessed.
You gotta be.
You got to be obsessed with the process. So the process of becoming the shooter that I wanted to be, I had to consistently do the same boring routine every single day. And eventually, I didn't see it right away. Eventually, it clicked, right? But it clicked because I was in love with the process.
Yeah, I think, I think another good example would be like kind of like video games, right? Think about it like video games. Kind of like what we were talking about the other day. Video games have different levels, have different missions, have different boards that you got to complete. Well, until you check off all of the boxes, until you complete all the objectives on this level, you can't go to the next level. You know what I'm saying? I think that that's a big part of why the process is so important because as you continue to go through the process, like I said, success is more than just a skill per se. A lot of people have skills. You know what I mean? A lot of people have gifts. A lot of people have the ability to be successful. But success in itself, results in themselves, it's deeper than just having a skill. Like I said, like we said earlier, there are certain habits and certain things that you pick up during the process that they might not breed success directly, but you can't have success without these things. You know what I mean? Like if you say you trying to go to the league, but you wake up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon every weekend, you ain't got no discipline. You ain't going to the league.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? If you say you trying to go to the league and like you said, every time your partners call you and say, "Hey, pull up on me," you on the way, you ain't going to the league because you ain't got no discipline, bro. You know what I mean? And eventually, you might even make it as far as college. You might even make it to the league sometimes.
But you
But
won't sustain it.
you ain't gonna sustain it, man. You ain't gonna sustain it. You know what I mean? But like I said, discipline, commitment, accountability. These are all things that you pick up in the process. You know what I mean? You don't find these things. It's rare that you get that I meet somebody who has these habits and has these things about them that just was born with it. I don't know if I've ever met a person that just came already accountable. You know what I'm saying?
Nah,
He
nah.
came already disciplined. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
these are things that you pick up through the process.
Yep. And I'll put you in a simple mind frame. Think of the process. Let's think about, you said building consistent habit. Okay, let's think about how many people do we see every day that wants to start going to the gym? Like I'm talking about the workout gym,
Yep.
right? It's,
Yep.
it's easy to start, it's harder to be consistent.
It's a fact.
Like it's easy to go to the gym one day. And even for me, like I go to the gym a lot, but some days are harder than others. Like it's easy to do to get up one day and say, man, you know what? Today's the day I'm gonna start going to the gym. It's easy to do that. The hard part is being consistent with it. Are you gonna go 2 or 3 times a week like you wrote down in your journal? Your weight goal is 200 pounds. Are you gonna lose 25 pounds? Are you gonna be consistent with doing it? And that's the mindset. I think the biggest separator between two good players or two good individuals or two successful individuals are mindset. I think that's the
I agree
only,
100%.
like, what is the difference? What is the difference between Kobe and who's a pretty
I give you
solid
I
player?
give you a good one. What's the biggest difference between Stephen Curry and Jordan Poole?
Exactly. It's the mindset.
It's the mindset.
It's the mindset. And if you ever watch Curry, I challenge you. I challenge everybody. If you watching this, I want you to go watch a Stephen Curry workout. He will shoot the same shot over and over and over, and it's because he understands and he loves this process. He does this certain process every single day. He's accustomed to this process, right? Like he's in love with the process, and that's what we have to fall in love with. He reached the reward because he became the best shooter ever, but it was a process to get there, and he loved that process. And so I don't think everyone doesn't have this mindset, but I think some people, this mindset for some people are a little more far away back in their minds.
So I think the higher you get, the more successful you want to be, the more eccentric you got to be,
Yeah.
the more obsessed you got to be. I definitely agree with that. I think that I definitely think that this conversation is important, right? So, my next question is, what do you have to say to the person who, you know, how do you motivate somebody who doesn't see the finish line? Right? How do you keep them motivated?
I would say, and this, I know it sounds cliche, but you don't have to see the whole staircase. Just take the first step. Like when I started my journey, and like I wasn't always this person. I was a person just like you who watching this. I was just, normal person who didn't really. I was camera shy. I was an introvert. Like I didn't see the whole staircase when I started training, when I started podcasting, when I started coaching. I didn't see the whole staircase. I just took the first step and grew. So if you are somebody who is waiting on everything to align before you go, then you'll be waiting for a long time, right? When I started training, it's a funny story, and I know he gonna watch this. When I first started training, I just came back home from school, and it was a player on the basketball team. When coach introduced me to him, he was, how kids are. Coach introduced me kind of on the high note, like, man, it's the best shooter I ever seen, and
Yeah, for
he
sure.
was a shooter. So
Yeah.
kids just naturally like,
Yeah. He
you
he
know what I
ready to
mean?
challenge you.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
man, please,
Yeah.
you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
So I think I hooped with them one day or something like that. I hooped with him one day, right? And before this day, he was like set sold on, man, coach is just talking. You know what I mean? He was sold on it. So I hooped with him one day, and this day kind of changed our relationship. Like, so after I hooped with him, the next day I seen him. He was like, man, can you work me out sometime? And I was like, well, I've never worked no one out before, but if you want, I can show you some stuff that I used to do. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
So I put him through some stuff, and he was going to his senior year. He was in 11th grade. I put him through some stuff. Like I just started to be like, hold on, I kind of like this. Like this kind of, you know what I mean? So one day we was working out. He was like, man, you need to post this on your story. I'm like, man, I'm just really doing this with you. I just love the game.
Yeah,
Like,
facts.
you know what I mean? I just love the game, so I'm enjoying it. But this is just me and you thing. Like,
Hmm.
I'm helping you. So he was like, man, nah, I think you should post. So I'm like, cool. So I posted him on my story, get some work in, and next thing you know, somebody else wanted to work, and that's kind of how it jump started from that. Just imagine if I was waiting to see the whole staircase. And look where I am
Right.
now. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? Like I'm training multiple people right now, like 2, 3 professional athletes, 3 or 4 college athletes. And I'm
Mm.
not saying that to to gloat or anything. I'm saying that because
Because you took the
I
first step and
started,
look where it got
I
you.
took the first step. I
Yeah.
took the first step and I started with
We could have easily
anybody.
let me wait till I get a gym. Let me wait till what I'm saying? Let me wait till I get
Exactly.
some gear, some equipment. Let me get some cones. You feel me? Nah, but you took the first step, and the first step, obviously, at this point, what I'm saying, you 300 steps in. You know what I'm saying? Now you a lot closer to the finish line. I mean, to be honest, like in our journey, what I'm saying, there really is no finish line, bro. You know what I'm saying? And I think that that's the beauty. I think you need to. I think my biggest piece of advice for people to help keep people motivated who can't necessarily see the finish line, or they're not seeing any results at all, is your journey. It might not ever end, bro. But that's the beauty of it, though. You know what I mean? What that tells me is not that I'm gonna be running forever. It's that I get to continue to grow forever. Well, I get
It's
to
always the
continue to be
next step.
1% better every single day. You know what I'm saying? Like every day I get a chance to do something different. You know what I'm saying? So I think that would probably be my biggest piece of advice to the people out there who really just, who are kind of finding struggle and trust in the process. The process is beautiful, man. Like I said, man, just you need to focus on really being, you know, being the person that you're supposed to be to receive the things that you say that you want. I don't think I can stress that enough. You know what I mean? So I'll give you a good example. At my job, so I work in sales. I'm a supervisor, right? But when I first started at this place, I've been with the company that I'm with now for about 3.5 years. When I first started here, um, 3.5 years ago, I came from working construction. You know what I mean? I was just ready to. My thing was, let me go find me a job that I can get out the sun. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I was, and so I kind of landed. I landed at the company that I'm with now, and it's a good company. You know what I mean? It started me off at a nice hourly wage, but I told myself I never forget this, bro. I had a talk with myself and I had a talk with God, and I said, you know what? I appreciate this opportunity that I just got. So I'm about to do everything right now. I'm gonna make the commitment to make all the right choices, to go to work on time, to make sure that I do what everybody asking me to do. And then if the right things don't come out of that, I never do it again.
Mhm.
Right? That was 3.5 years ago, bro. Fast forward, right? So I was like I said, I was entry level, bro. I did so good, just simple doing what people asked me to do, bro. I did such a good job that they told me, you know what, you should go and train. You should go help the new hires, bro. Help them learn how to do stuff. So I'm like, okay, cool. That's cool. In my mind, my objective was go help them so I ain't got to do what I'm you know what I'm saying, what I'm normally expected to do. So I ain't got to talk to no customers. Let me go over here and help them. Right? Not knowing I get in there and I'm helping these people out, bro. I'm helping these people learn the job, right? And you know, my mentor at the time kind of pulled me to the side and was like, you a really cool dude, bro. And you actually really smart. But I don't think you really understand that you hindering some of the people that you're talking to. Right. So he telling me that, rather than me teaching them, I'm giving them answers to stuff. I'm just flat out answering questions. I didn't even realize I was doing that though, right? So boom, that's one thing, right? So he telling me that I'm like, okay, cool. I try to do a little bit better with that, right? Fast forward, opportunity come up to give a presentation. Anybody who know me know I'm a people person, right? So me talking, that ain't no problem. You talking and you giving a presentation, that's two different things.
Mhm.
So as I'm doing this, as I'm giving the presentation, I give it, I'm done. He pulled me to the side, like, hey man, you did a really good job giving the presentation, but I think you could really do, you could do more. Like for example, you should when you're talking, you should use hand gestures. Right? It gives more effect to your words sometimes whenever you talk. Right? So if you say the word small, if you say the word big, you should do some hand gestures. I'm like, okay, cool. I never really thought about that. Fast forward, right? The opportunity comes up to interview for another position, a promotion, basically. So I go in there. I'm like, you know what? Interview ain't nothing but a conversation. I'm just finna go in there and I'm gonna hand these folks my resume. I'm gonna handle my whatever. Boom, boom, boom. Done. Go in there. My mentor. I leave the interview. I'm thinking I crushed it. You know what I'm saying? We was in there all tripping out, laughing and joking around. Cool. I leave out the interview. My mentor pulled me to the side and say, "Hey, I got some feedback for you from the interview." A long story short, you know what I mean? They loved everything about you, how you came off charismatic and yada yada yada. But your resume, you had 100 jobs on here, bro. That ain't a good look. We need to change this resume so it can look like XYZ. Okay, boom, done with that. You say anytime you go into an interview for a very important position, you need to put a letter of intent. What is it that you're trying to get out of this? What do you bring to the table? How do you feel it? How do you feel the void that they got? Right? Cool. Fill out the start doing that. Boom, boom, boom. Long story short, bro, fast forward to about a year and a half ago, I get the opportunity to interview to become a supervisor in the sales department. Right? Keep in mind, this was a whole different department from where I started at. I didn't start in sales. But the beauty of the beauty of the process was I go to this interview, and because I learned how to help new hires and help people be successful without giving them the answer, because I learned how to teach them and motivate them rather than just give them the answer. Because I learned how to motivate people to go and find their own answer. I checked the box for them for the position. Because I learned how to give presentations in a professional way and talk with my hands so I can illustrate my story, I checked the box for them. Because my resume was up to date and it looked beautiful and it was colorful and it was concise and I took out all the jobs that didn't fit, I checked the box for them. Right? Because I had a letter of intent. They told me nobody ever does a letter of intent. I checked the box for them. Long story short, it was because I made the commitment before I ever, bro, my plan was not to be no supervisor. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
honestly, I was just passing through. But because I
Right.
made the commitment at the very beginning that I'm gonna go in here, I'm gonna do what you told me to do. I'm gonna trust the process, and I won't make a decision until it's done. Fast forward the process now. I mean, everything that I can vouch without a doubt in my mind that there are certain things that you pick up in the process, bro, that you can't have success without these things, man. You know what I mean? And all that came from just trusting the process, bro. So like I said, I think my biggest thing is, you don't just know that your process, your journey might be longer than somebody else's, bro. But it's only that way because you ain't learned what you were supposed to learn yet. You know what I'm saying? So take it one day at a time. Pay attention during the journey. You know what I mean? Don't just go through the motions. Do it with purpose. I think that's a big thing too, right? So you want people like, yeah, it's one thing to get up every morning, go to the gym and get on the weights. But if you going half ass, excuse my language, half ass doing the workout, then you ain't really doing, you know what I'm saying?
Yep. Yep. Man, you're absolutely right. And I think so. If you're watching this, man, we got 5 minutes left on the show. If you're watching this, this is your sign to trust the process. Whether you're an athlete, whether you are whatever you're trying to do, whatever you aspire to be in life, it is a, a price that you have to pay, right? Just like we pay taxes, the rich pay taxes, the poor pay taxes, middle class pay taxes, richest pay richest pay the most taxes. They pay a little more. Middle class, they pay a little more than the poor. Poor, you hardly pay. You hardly pay. All right. Same thing goes for success. If you're trying to be the best at what you do, you gotta pay your taxes. You gotta pay your dues. Your dues are due, and they're due every single day. That's if you're trying to be the best. If you just content with being a middle class, okay, well you pay your taxes when you get ready, you pay your dues when you get ready, and if you don't want nothing out of whatever you are doing, then you continue to, settle for what you got. But if you're watching this show, if you are surrounded by us in any type of way, then you are trying to prosper. You are trying to break through this wall. You are trying to get to the next level or next phase in your life and whatever that may look like. So if you're watching this episode, this is your reminder to push through, to trust the process, to keep pushing, to make sure you pay your rent every single day because your rent is due every day. And every day you trust the process, you wake up, the faster you embrace it and love it, the more it becomes something that you like to do rather than be work, right?
Yeah.
And so remember that, take that with you. You share this episode with a friend, make sure you leave a like, leave a comment. If we said anything that can maybe spark your mind, help you out a little bit. If you think this episode was for you, that's fine. Wasn't for you, that's fine. Make sure you share it with a friend because it could inspire them.
Shoot us a message. Let us know, what kind of results are you hoping for at the end of your process? Now, where are you at in your process? How do you feel about the process that you're going through? Shoot us a message and let us know. We'd love to hear from y'all. But we definitely appreciate everybody for tuning in to our first episode of Successful Habits Podcast. Stay locked in with us and we'll see you in the next one.
All right, we out.
We out.